This week in Israel, there was a new kind of terrorist attack, one where Arab terrorists kidnapped and killed a member of the Israeli Druze community. You may not have heard of them, but they are patriotic Zionist members of the country of Israel. At the end of the day, I think the Arab terrorists more than met their match. Some think that Iran is vying for a position in the failing and dying Palestinian Authority, and Itamar Ben Gvir has finally signed a deal with Bibi Netanyahu for the upcoming government. Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of anti-Israel propaganda and Jew hatred, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Welcome to the Israel Guys studio here on the Mount of Blessing. I'm Luke Hilton here with Joshua Waller, deep in the biblical heartland of Israel. Lots been happening this week, and we're going to get into all of it. First, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and get the conversation going down below so you don't miss out on any content. Speaking of missing out, you guys need to go over and give us a follow on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all at the Israel Guys. Help us grow those pages. And by the way, happy Thanksgiving. Yes, from the land of Israel. You know, there's a lot of American Jews that do celebrate Thanksgiving here in Israel. And we're not Jewish, but we are Americans. So yes, we got a chance to celebrate with our families yesterday. Quick note. In the midst of all your Black Friday shopping, you can also save big on Israel Guys merch products. You just go to theisraelguys.com, click on the store, and check out all of the incredible Black Friday deals we have going on right now. But don't wait, because it won't last forever. So, quick recap. You heard about the bus bombings in Jerusalem earlier this week. I believe that this level anyways of bombings, where you have like multiple bombings at bus stations, bus stops, in crowded areas in Israel, I don't think this has been seen since Second Intifada, which is almost 20 years ago now. Security forces found at least another bomb and were able to disarm it before it could go off. There was another terrorist attack in Beersheba where a car ran onto a sidewalk and ran down and rammed a young Air Force IDF soldier in uniform, and they've determined that, yes, it was a terrorist attack. And on top of that, there was a car accident that turned into a terrorist attack that had to do with a member of the Israeli Druze community. And it was very different, something that you've never seen before, so we're going to get into that today.
Guys, what I wanted to talk about first off is that the difference in this attack against the Druze villages is that I believe the terrorist organizations are stating it very firm and solid is that if you're pro-Israel, you might as well be Jewish. You might as well be a part of the Jewish state, the Jewish cause, the building up of the land of Israel, and therefore you're seen as an enemy. You don't have to be Jewish. You just need to be a part of this story, a part of the building up of the land of Israel. Now, the Druze community is very pro-Israel. The Druze young men fight in the IDF. They're in very elite units. They're incredible soldiers, and they have given their lives to the country of Israel in a very strong way. They've partnered. They're part of the nation of Israel. No one really doubts that. Now, why would you attack a non-Jew? Right? They're not Jewish. They're Druze, and commit such a horrible attack against a Druze person? I would say that the terrorists are making it very clear, Luke. They're making it very clear that it doesn't matter who you are. If you're standing with the Jews, this is what you will. This is your fate. This is their messaging.
Well, and I'll get into it in a second, but the Druze community in Israel has the highest rate of their members or their children serving in the IDF. Okay, what actually happened? 2 Druze Israeli citizens, teenagers, were in a car accident near Jenin, which is a pretty hotspot Arab city in northern Samaria. So according to reports, there's a lot of conflicting reports. So this is the best information that I could put together. You can check out all of our sources down in the description below. According to reports, these 2 guys were severely injured, critically injured. And the one boy, 17-year-old Tiran Pharaoh, was taken to the hospital in Jenin, okay? Shouldn't be a problem, even though he's Israeli, because he's Arab. He's a member of the Druze community, which ostensibly is part of the Arab people, Arab culture, even though they're their own community, right? So shortly after, he's in the hospital, critically injured, undergoes multiple surgeries. He's still in critical condition, but he's stabilized. What happens? A terrorist group, more than 20 militant like fighters firing off their guns, storm the hospital. And now it's come out that they're from what's called the Jenin Brigades, which might be a new terrorist group in Judea and Samaria in the Arab areas. They hear about this boy and they storm the hospital and start firing their guns in the air. They disconnect him from all his tubes, disconnect him from his ventilator, basically his life support, and they kidnap him and throw him into a van. What happens? He dies shortly after. Now, some reports initially said that the boy was already dead, but the boy's uncle is basically refuting that because he was there at the time, and this is his story. He said, quote, "We saw them with our own eyes. They were armed. They came as if it was the Intifada," referencing the 1980s or 1990s, early 2000s. And he talks about how the boy was alive, connected to a ventilator, and then the Jenin Brigade storms the hospital and kidnaps him and throws him into a van, and he dies shortly after. Even after he dies, this terrorist group refuses to give up his body, demanding that Israel release the bodies of terrorists that have killed Jews previously. Some people think that the Jenin Brigades thought that this boy was an IDF soldier. It doesn't matter, okay? He was 17. Maybe he would become an IDF soldier, very likely, right, in the future. But it doesn't matter. They kidnap this boy, kill him, and then they refuse to even release his body to his family. It was only after the Druze community, they forced to be reckoned with, they kidnapped several Palestinian Arabs of their own and threatened to storm Jenin. There were thousands of them out on the streets protesting. And guess what? The terrorists finally handed over the body to his family, so they didn't want to mess with the Druze community. Like Josh was talking about, the Druze, they have their own kind of complicated religion. It probably originated from Islam, but they also, it's no longer associated with Muslims or Islam today. They trace their lineage and their heritage back to Jethro in the Bible. So basically they're connected to Moses and connected to the Jewish people in that way. But they're faithful to whatever ruling government is in the country where they live. So if they're the Druze community in Syria, they are patriotic to the Syrian government. But the Druze community in Israel, which there's more than 100,000, they're patriotic to Israel, which means they're Zionistic. They serve in the IDF. More than, I think they have like 83% of their children serve in the IDF, which is higher than any other community in Israel. And out of that percentage, 80% of those soldiers serve in combat units. They're very highly trained, sophisticated, very, very smart soldiers. So what in the world is like happening in this whole situation? You have PA Arabs, terrorists, the Jenin Brigade, terrorist factions in Judea and Samaria that hear about a car accident, a boy that comes into the hospital in critical condition, connected to life support, and they storm the hospital just shooting, yelling, and they grab this boy, disconnect him from life, just yank him out of the hospital, throw him in a car, and basically kill him. Luke, and then they refuse to give his body up to his family.
Right, a horrific story. But what I want to know is where's America? Where is the EU right now? Why are they saying, "How dare you Druze act in such a way"?
Well,
can you imagine right now the Jewish community after a terror attack storming Jenin, the citizens? Now, Luke, put this in perspective. Everybody's going off on Ben Gvir because he thinks that there should be a stronger. No, he's not telling Jewish citizens to storm Jenin if the Jenin new terror group kills a Jew. But yet the world will be completely silent right now, guaranteed. You will not hear anything about it because it's Druze. The Druze Arab community, right, are threatening, and they defended themselves, and all of us went, yes, of course you should defend yourself. Of course, if they kidnap your son and kill him, you would defend your family. You would go to that city and you would demand recompense right away, right?
Right.
But how come the world says Jews are not allowed to do that? I'm literally, when everybody heard this story, they were like filled with like, yeah, go Druze, right? But if Jews did that, if Jewish people did that, and they rose up and they said, absolutely not one more son to be taken, you better bet the whole world would go ballistic, not for the Jews, against the Jews. Is that ridiculous? It's ridiculous, but this is the facts on the ground.
Well, and just, I guess the only other thing to bring out is that the terrorists are terrorists. They don't care. I mean, obviously their number one target is Jews, but whether or not they thought that this boy was an IDF soldier, they just ruthless. They care about no one. They care about absolutely no one but themselves. And in the meantime, we're going to get into it, but what is the United States doing? They're telling Israel that they need to prop up the Palestinian Authority. We're going to get into all that in just a second, but before, we need to talk about another incredible Black Friday sale going on right now, and that's by our friends at Blessed by Israel. You guys need to take advantage of this season to not only stand in line outside your favorite store, maybe jump on online sales, but purchasing products that matter from Israel's heartland. Small family-owned businesses here, and guess what? Now you can get products directly from right here in Judea and Samaria, shipped to your doorstep, and save on Black Friday sales. Doesn't get much better than that. Our friends at Blessed by Israel are running big sales right now. You can get olive oil, jewelry, spices, chocolate, soap, ceramics, so much more, all made in Israel's heartland and all made by small family-owned businesses. Blessed by Israel's mission is to fight the BDS movement, that's the boycotts against Israeli products and Israeli companies, by bringing beautiful boutique products from Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria right to your doorstep. Your purchases are an investment into the people who are making a difference by pioneering and restoring Israel's biblical heartland. So whether it's olive oil, tea, honey, ceramics, jewelry, or any of their other many products, Blessed by Israel is encouraging everyone to buy what you believe in and then share that message with all your friends and family. And that's what we encourage you to do here as well. It doesn't get much better than tangible, for as far as tangible physical support for the land and people of Israel's heartland. It doesn't get much easier, and it doesn't get any better than this. So in the midst of all of your other Black Friday shopping, we're encouraging you to invest in something that matters. Get incredible, amazing products at incredible discounts and invest in the land and people of Israel. And guess what? It's all shipped straight to your doorstep. So go to blessedbyisrael.com, blessedbyisrael.com. We got the direct link down on the description below. And you can still use the code INVEST at checkout for $5 off your first order. And make sure you take advantage of all the Black Friday sales that are going on right now.
So, guys, why the uptick in terrorist attacks in Israel? There's a very complex backdrop to this, and if it really, a great friend of ours, Caroline Glick, reported on the JNS. Feel free to check that out in the description below. But we're going to dive through this. What in the world is going on and the deep complexities behind the scene? Now, why are they attacking in this really fierce way right now? What's the political scene behind it? Well, number one, Mahmoud Abbas is 87 years old, meaning his time is very limited. And who's going to be the successor? Who's taking up the reins of this terrorist? Let's not rant on Mahmoud Abbas right now. We got other things to talk about. But literally, this is a horrible man. Now, who's going to take his place? Now,
what can we just say real quick? He's, like you mentioned, he's 87. He's old, probably not in good health. He's not going to be around a whole lot longer. And he's like 15 years over his term limit. So he's illegally in power. Yeah. He's a corrupt guy.
Very corrupt.
It's just natural. People are going, okay, this guy's not going to be around much longer. So who's going to take his place?
Who wins in the Middle East, Luke? Who wins in the Middle East, folks?
Whoever's the most powerful?
The strongest. The powerful. Who's got the best. Now, so right now, whoever kills the most Jews, that's how they're deciding who is the strongest. Who can kill the most people, who can set the most terrorist attacks, who can do this. Now,
well, and also why you have all these new terrorist faction, like the IDF just finished putting down the Lion's Den organization. Now you got the Jenin Brigade. Like every other day, you got a new terrorist group popping up.
And why are they doing that? They're all looking at an opportunity for power. They want to rule not only the PA, the Palestinian Authority, they also want to rule Gaza. They want to take over Hamas. And who do we see right now taking the lead in terrorist actions? Well, we see the Islamic Jihad. Who is the Islamic Jihad? Well, the Islamic Jihad is direct sponsor. They're direct sponsor. It's a proxy from Iran directly. There's no it's 100% strings attached to Iran, full funded, coming from Iran. Why would Iran wanting to take over power? Why would they want to take over power in Judea and Samaria and in Gaza? Well, it's pretty well you could just look at the scene here. Of course they want to take it over. Iran right now is responsible for taking over many Israeli cameras right now. The terror attack that happened on Wednesday, they hacked the security cameras from the area. We also have them hacking the sirens down in Eilat where the alarms are going off. Fake alarms, you don't want that. That's really horrible when your alarms are going off and there's no rocket. They're trying to destabilize the situation here. Now, the attacks. Number one attacker right now, out of all the different attacks that are going on, Islamic Jihad. Now, it's very clear. The writing's on the wall. The Iranian proxy, Islamic Jihad, is wanting to replace the PA as king and leader for the PA, and also they're very, very active in Gaza. What does this mean if the Islamic Jihad takes over? Well, this brings the Iranian proxy war to a whole new level. You guys with me? This brings us to a whole new level. If Iran is now not only over in Iran and the threats of a nuclear war against Israel and against the whole Western world, if we could one day wake America up to the fact that it's also America, but most importantly, we're sitting right here in Israel, and Iran's number one target is Israel. If they have a proxy right in Israel's, not just back door, in Israel, inside of Israel. And that's what they're vying for right now. And let's just say this, America, one of the Israeli top generals went and met with the U.S. Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan. He met with him to tell him the fact that Iran is a major problem and is on the fast track to a bomb, and this is really bad news, and he should do something. Well, Jake Sullivan had the audacity to steer that conversation away because they don't want to talk about Iran. They don't want to talk about how Iran could possibly, be bombing Israel in a near future. They don't want to talk about those possibilities, and don't worry, that's not going to happen. Israel will deal with Iran, but preferably with their biggest ally, America's support. Well, Jake Sullivan derailed the meeting and would rather talk about Israel propping up the PA, the Palestinian Authority, as though Iran is no big deal. Let's talk about the really big deal in the House. And to America, the big deal concerning Israel right now is that the Palestinian Authority not topple. Now, you could ask, why would the Americans be so connected to the Palestinian Authority when the true ally in the House is Israel? They should be supporting building up Israel. Why are they so enamored with trying to build this Palestinian cause? Now, you guys have to understand a few details behind the scenes. That right now there's a new Hadi Amir is the U.S. Special Envoy to the Palestinians. It's a new position that has just been brought up. This is quoting him. They need money. He's begging for money. Now, I'm going to tell you in just a second how ridiculous that is. Begging for money. I'm going to just tell you in just a minute how much money. But here's a quote from Hadi Amir. This is U.S. Special Envoy to the Palestinians. The PA is on the verge of collapse. It must be saved from collapse at all costs. Israel is responsible for preventing the PA's collapse. And Israel cannot expect that the PA to cooperate with its IDF counter-terror operations without receiving something in return.
What, can I translate that?
Yeah, can you translate that?
Israel cannot expect the PA to not try to kill Jews without receiving something in return.
That's exactly
Basically, you need to give the PA money. You need to prop them up. You need to prevent them from collapsing. You can't expect them to be good guys. You can't expect them to be nice to you. You can't expect them to not set off bombs and commit stabbings and Molotov cocktails and throw rocks and rammings, and unless they receive something in return, because they haven't received anything in the last 60 years.
Right. The poor, pitiful people.
Except
they just
maybe,
need your support.
Some kind of billions of dollars, maybe.
No, you want to really know how much it is. Okay, the U.S. has partnered with the Palestinian Authority for the last 28 years, giving the Palestinian, whatever, it's a mafia. It's not a government. You just cannot say it's any kind of government at all. It's the mafia group, Palestinian mafia, $6.7 billion. $6.7 billion. And $1 billion of that has just been given under the Biden administration just now, nearly $1 billion.
And we're just talking about the U.S., right?
We're just talking about America.
They've also received billions from the European Union, private companies, other governments all over the world, Canada. The list goes on.
And Luke, this is our big thing. All of you that are listening right now, you have to understand this very clearly. America says one thing, and the Palestinian Authority is saying one thing, but what is happening in truth? And this is what the Israel Guys is here for, and we're about to tell you the truth. This is what's going on. Here's the facade. They're saying, we want to create a Palestinian state, right? We want a peace. We want peace and prosperity for the Palestinians and Israel. This is their rhetoric, right? Over the board, over the top, right? They're saying we want to fight terrorism. We want to cultivate peace with Israel, building a coherent nation state, right? What's actually happening? What really is going down? $6.7 billion and 28 years later. What's actually happened? We have the whole layout behind us. Let's see what's actually happening. The PA is sponsoring terrorism, inciting terrorism, funding terrorists to steal state land, Israel's government lands, right? And running diplomatic offenses against Israel at the UN and international legal bodies with the goal to delegitimize Israel's very existence. That's what's actually going on. Are they trying to create peace with Israel? Absolutely not. Are they trying to build a two-state solution? Absolutely not. Are they trying to help Israel in any way? Absolutely not. They're trying to create. If you're sponsoring terrorists, funding terrorism infrastructure, and funding those that are stealing Israel's state land, and you're funding the delegitimization of Israel on the world stage, you're no friend of Israel. And that $6.7 billion has gone in exactly to that cog.
And I would say that the PA is getting bolder and bolder by the day about their outspoken incitement to terrorism and their connection and support. Because, like, it used to be that they would always try to have a really nice face in English, say one thing in English, something different. But every day, they get bolder and bolder. You have new factions that crop up. But the crazy thing is that the U.S. is not only turning a blind eye to all of this, but they're continuing to double down on hating on Israel and putting all the blame on Israel and telling Israel that they have to be responsible for propping the PA up and keeping them from collapsing and giving them more money. And in the meantime, bombs are being set off in Jerusalem, blowing up buses.
And they're saying, don't worry about Iran. Nah, no big deal. We can deal with them. Now, and they also see that the Islamic Jihad is gaining power, but they're refusing to talk about it. You hear any Americans talking about the rise in Islamic Jihad in Israel? No. And in all reality, just thinking, the Americans have some weird thing going on with the Iranians. Why not just stop the whole thing? And why not right now stop the Islamic Jihad in Israel? You're an ally of the country, the nation, the state of Israel, but you're gonna diffuse the greatest attack, the greatest threat against the country, say there's no big deal. And when the proxy of that greatest threat on the other side, the Islamic Jihad, tries to threaten and is the most offensive attacks going on in Israel right now, you're not gonna talk about that either. You're gonna quell and act like those are no big deals and try to lift the head of this PA nonsense. No, you are absolutely, it's America and this Biden administration is in essence at war with the state of Israel. It's a proxy, and it's absolute nonsense. You're giving billions of dollars to the enemies of Israel, and you're refusing to recognize that the greatest threats to the country are actual threats. You're saying, nah, it's no big deal. The bombs are facing this way. The bombs are being blown up in Jerusalem. And you're still refusing to recognize that this is actually what's happening. You're steering the conversation. They're steering the conversation to another angle, saying, no, let's talk about the PA. That's the facts on the ground.
Yep. Josh, we have to wrap up, but a quick update from the coalition government that's hopefully being formed here in Israel. It's hadn't been going super well, but that's kind of normal because most of the time, you have parties that are trying to put together a government, and everybody wants as much as they can get, so they squeeze and they push and they argue and they go back and forth. But finally, a little bit of good news is there's an actual agreement signed between Otzma Yehudit and the Likud, which is Itamar Ben Gvir. He will be the Minister of National Security. It's like the internal public minister position, but expanded much more than that, which means his party will also receive the Ministry of the Negev and the Galilee and the National Resilience Portfolio, which will be responsible for the neighborhoods, the Minister of Heritage, Deputy Minister of the Economy, Chairmanship of the Public Security Committee, and the Special Committee for the Israeli Citizens Fund. All of that to say, it's kind of complicated, but Itamar Ben Gvir's vision is to strengthen the security sector in Israel, even as they're actually part of the agreement is to establish a type of national guard, which will be meant to restore order to Israel's streets, going back to the May 2021 riots and violence that was not happening inside Judea and Samaria. It was happening in Israel proper, Lod and Haifa and Netanya and Akko, all over Israel. It was just violence and riots, and nobody could do anything about it. Well, they're actually talking about establishing, putting order to all of that so it doesn't happen again. And he's got a really great vision to keep the people of Israel safe, Jew and Arab. It doesn't matter. His vision is to make sure that the people of Israel are safe. And I believe also part of the agreement is geared towards the settlements of Judea and Samaria, and hopefully legalizing some of the ones that are here as well. So where does that leave the coalition talks? Religious Zionist Party with Bezalel Smotrich, that's probably the current one that's everybody's not so sure about, because they're going back and forth, and the ultra-Orthodox parties. And the current disagreement is still whether or not Smotrich or the other parties will get the finance ministry, who gets defense ministry, et cetera, et cetera. So keep your eyes out. We'll let you know when Israel officially has a new government. Hopefully, it will be within a week. They need a strong government right now, as you can tell, with all the attacks that have been happening this week. In conclusion, guys, you may not be hearing a lot about it in the mainstream media, but Israel is experiencing a wave of violence and terrorist attacks, some of which, at least the level of these types of bombings, haven't been seen in almost 20 years. The PA is not only falling apart, but multiple terrorist factions, including Iran, are vying for power, especially as they anticipate 87-year-old Mahmoud Abbas's demise. And Bibi Netanyahu is still working on putting this coalition together, and things are proving difficult as usual, but there is hope that there will be a government very, very soon. Don't forget to make some meaningful purchases during your Black Friday shopping. Go to blessedbyisrael.com. Click the link in the description below and save big on boutique, beautiful products from Israel's heartland. Let us know what you think get the conversation going down below, guys. Remember to tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.